In the ethereal haze of the Great Smoky Mountains National Park, where the ancient Appalachians cradled secrets forged over millennia, a young couple embarked on what they believed would be a romantic escape. The park, spanning 500,000 acres across Tennessee and North Carolina, was a testament to nature's grandeur and human perseverance. Established in 1934 as the first national park, partially funded by federal dollars, it preserved a landscape that had once been home to the Cherokee people, who revered it as Chiconage, the place of blue smoke. Displaced by the Trail of Tears in the 1830s, their spirits seemed to linger in the mist that rose from the volatile organic compounds exhaled by the dense forests. Emily Harper, 24, a graphic designer from Knoxville with a cascade of auburn hair and eyes like polished emeralds, had grown up on tales of the Smokies from her grandfather, a retired park ranger. He'd regale her with stories of the park's history, how it was authorized in 1926 after years of advocacy, dedicated by President Roosevelt in 1940, and now welcomed over 14 million visitors annually. "The mountains are alive, Em," he'd say, his voice gravelly from years of trail dust. "Respect them, or they'll remind you who's in charge." Emily's designs often featured the park's motifs: twisted laurels, elusive elk, reintroduced in 2001 after a century's absence, or the synchronous fireflies that danced in summer spectacles. She loved the escapism, the way the 800 miles of trails could swallow worries whole. But deep down, a frisson of fear accompanied her adventures, a subtle foreshadowing of the darkness that awaited. Her boyfriend, Jake Ramirez, 26, a software engineer from Chicago who'd relocated to Tennessee for a tech job, complemented her perfectly with his athletic build, dark curls, and infectious grin. He brought a sense of urban edge to their outings. Their relationship, 2 years strong, was built on shared passions: coding late nights, spontaneous road trips, and a physical chemistry that ignited like dry tinder. What's up, guys and gals? Iceman here. So this is my first video on this channel, so if you will, hit that thumbs up button. Let's get the ball rolling here. This is a horrific bear attack. So I warn you, be prepared for the chills to be sent down your spine. And if you will, like this video, subscribe to the page, and hit the bell so you're notified next time I post a video. So let's continue, shall we? This October weekend, they chose shore fishing along the Little Pigeon River in the park's western sector, near Cades Cove, a historic valley preserving 19th century homesteads amid meadows, where white-tailed deer gazed and wild turkeys strutted. The cove, once farmed by settlers, now teemed with wildlife, including the park's thriving black bear population. As they drove the winding Newfound Gap Road, the highest in the park, at 5,000 feet, Emily felt an inexplicable chill. The fog rolled in thick, reducing visibly to ghostly outlines. "It's like the mountains are breathing," she murmured, gripping Jake's hand. He squeezed back. "Just nature's AC. Relax, babe." But as they passed a roadside sign, "Bear activity high. Secure food and trash," a shadow flitted in the tree line, gone before she could point it out. Black bears, masters of stealth with their glossy black coats blending into the underbrush, possessed a sense of smell 7 times keener than a bloodhound's, detecting scents from miles away. Unbeknownst to them, a large male bear, around 450 pounds and scarred from territorial skirmishes had been displaced by a dominant rival. Hungry from a dry autumn, reducing berry yields, it patrolled the riverbanks. Its behavior, altered by past encounters with careless campers who'd left food scraps, habituating it to human presence, a leading cause of aggressive incidents in the park. They parked at a trailhead and hiked 2 miles to their spot, backpacks laden with fishing gear, snacks, and a small tent. The path wound through old-growth forests where trees predated Columbus, their trunks moss-covered sentinels. Emily's boots crunched on fallen leaves, the air redolent with earth and pine. Did you know the park has 4 main forest types? Spruce fir at high elevations, northern hardwoods, cove hardwoods, and pine oak? She said, reciting Grandpa's lessons. Jake nodded, impressed. And the highest rainfall east of the Rockies, up to 85 inches a year, keeps it all lush. They laughed. But the conversation masked Emily's growing unease. Twigs snapped off trail, and she swore she heard heavy breathing, like a beast sizing up prey. Black bears were crepuscular, most active at dawn and dusk, when their acute vision and hearing made them efficient foragers. Rangers warned of bluff charges, sudden rushes to intimidate, but true attacks, though rare, could be predatory, especially if the bear viewed humans as food. Arriving at the riverbank as the sun hovered low, casting golden hues on the rippling water, they set up. The little pigeon, fed by mountain springs, was a fly fishing paradise, home to rainbow, brown, and brook trout, species protected to sustain the ecosystem. Emily baited her hook with a worm, casting her line with a graceful arc. Jake did the same, his pull whipping through the air. They sat on a fallen log, lines taut, sharing a beer as the forest symphony unfolded. Barred owls hooting, frogs croaking, wind rustling leaves. Hours passed by with few bites, but the intimacy built. Jake's hand traced Emily's thigh, sending shivers. "This is perfect," he whispered, lips brushing her ear. She turned, their kiss deepening, tongues entwining in a dance of desire. The isolation amplified everything. The taste of salt on her skin, the heat building between them. As dusk fell, the river's murmur seemed to whisper warnings, but passion drowned them out. Emily pushed Jake gently onto the soft grass, her fingers unbuckling his belt with eager precision. He groaned as she lowered her head, taking him into her mouth. The act was slow, sensual, her tongue swirled, lips gliding along his length, drawing out moans that echoed softly. Jake's hands tangled in her hair, guiding gently, his body arcing in ecstasy. The vulnerability of the moment, exposed in the wild, added an edge, but they were lost in each other. Black bears, with their powerful builds and claws up to 4 inches long, could climb trees or sprint at 35 miles per hour, closing distances in seconds. This one, lurking 100 yards away, nostrils flaring at the sense of sweat and arousal mixed with food remnants, inched closer, its behavior emboldened by prior human interactions. Jake climaxed with a shuddering gasp, pulling Emily up for a lingering kiss. "God, I love you," he panted. She smiled, wiping her lips, her cheeks flushed. Nature's aphrodisiac. She chuckled, zipping up. He chuckled. "Gotta pee. Back in a sec." Grabbing his fishing pole for balance, he wandered into the woods, leaving Emily alone. She sat gazing at the star-pricked sky, her mind wandering to the park's Native American history, the Cherokees' ancient mounds, and petroglyphs hidden in coves. A rustle nearby made her freeze. "Jake?" No answer. The sound grew, branches parting, heavy footfalls, heart racing. She recalled bear safety. Make noise, appear large, back away slowly. But as the shape emerged from the shadows, terror gripped her. The bear was massive, its black fur matted, eyes reflecting moonlight like obsidian orbs, scarred, marred, its muzzle, testaments to battles won. It huffed, ears pinned, a sign of agitation rangers warned about in educational programs. Emily stood, arms raised. "Hey, bear, go away!" Her voice trembled. Black bears in the Smokies rarely attacked, with incidents like the 2021 mauling near Hazel Creek or the 2000 fatality being anomalies amid millions of visits. But this one, food-stressed and habituated, saw opportunity. It charged. A blur of muscle and fury covering 30 yards in moments. The bear's charge was a cataclysm of raw power, its massive frame exploding from the underbrush like a shadow given form in fury. Emily had barely registered the hulking silhouette, over 6 feet at the shoulder, when reared, its black fur rippling over corded muscles, honed by years of foraging in the rugged Smoky Mountains, before it was upon her. The ground trembled under its pounding paws, each step a thunderclap that vibrated through her bones. She scrambled backward, her heels digging into the soft riverbank soil, but terror locked her muscles, turning her retreat into a pathetic crawl. The air filled with the beast's guttural huffing, a sound like steam escaping a pressure cooker, laced with the rancid stench of its breath, decaying vegetation, old blood, and the musky rot of a predator's maw. In that frozen instant, Emily's mind flashed to the park ranger's pamphlet she'd skimmed at the trailhead. Black bears in the Smokies were typically non-aggressive, with attacks rarer than winning the lottery. But this one defied the odds. Weighing close to 450 pounds, its body was a testament to the park's abundant but unpredictable food sources. Acorns from ancient oaks, berries from rhododendron thickets, and the occasional scavenged carcass. Habituation to human trash had eroded its natural wariness, turning curiosity into predation. Rangers euthanized dozens annually for such boldness, but this male, scarred and solitary, had evaded capture. The impact was apocalyptic. The bear slammed into her like a freight train, its forepaws, each the size of dinner plates, tipped with curved claws, honed to razor edges, crashing down on her chest. Air exploded from her lungs in a strangled wheeze, ribs creaking under the crushing weight. She felt the pop of cartilage giving way, a sharp internal snap that radiated agony through her torso. The claws dug in, piercing her jacket and shirt as if they were tissue paper, rending skin and muscle in 4 parallel gashes that stretched from collarbone to navel. Blood surged forth in hot torrents, soaking her clothes and pooling in the depressions of her body. The pain was immediate and all-encompassing, a white, hot blaze that short-circuited her thoughts, reducing her world to raw sensation. Emily screamed, a high-pitched keening that tore from her throat, echoing off the river's bend and into the indifferent forest. The bear's head lowered, its black eyes beady and impassive, devoid of malice, but brimming with instinctual hunger, locked on her face, its muzzle, broad and scarred from territorial brawls, parted to reveal yellowed teeth, each canine as thick as her thumb and designed for puncturing hide. It lunged, jaws clamping around her left shoulder with the force of a hydraulic press. Teeth sank deep, grinding through flesh and tendon, scraping bone with a sickening rasp. She felt the warm gush of blood filling her mouth as she bit her tongue in reflex, the metallic tang mixing with dirt kicked up in her thrashing. The bear shook its head violently, a predatory maneuver to subdue prey, ripping a fist-sized chunk of deltoid muscle free, sinews stretched like overtaxed rubber bands before snapping, spraying arterial blood in crimson arcs that painted the grass and the bear's fur. Exposed bone gleamed wetly in the moonlight, the humerus fractured and splintered at the edge. Emily's arm flopped uselessly, nerves severed, sending phantom tingles amid the inferno of pain. She flailed with her good hand, nails raking the bear's coarse pelt, but it was like scratching granite. The creature's breath washed over her, hot and fetid, carrying the odor of its last meal. Perhaps a rotting fish from the river, or berries fermented in its gut. Desperation fueled her kicks. Her boot connected with the bear's underbelly, a soft spot amid the armor of muscle. It elicted a deep growl, vibrating through her body like an earthquake. Enraged, the bear released her shoulder, now a ragged crater oozing pus-laced blood, and swiped at her midsection. Claws hooked into her abdomen, tearing through layers of fabric, epidermis, dermis, and fat in one fluid motion. The skin split open like overripe fruit, revealing the glistening pink of muscle beneath. Deeper still, the talons punctured her peritoneal cavity, eviscerating her with surgical brutality. Intestines uncoiled in slick, steaming loops, tumbling out onto the cold ground in a foul-smelling heap. Bile and partially digested food leaked from her perforations, the acrid scent mingling with blood to create a nauseating miasma. Emily's hands instinctively clutched at the wound, fingers slipping in the warm, vicious mess of her own viscera. She tried to shove the organs back inside, but they slithered like eels, defying her weakening grip. Shock set in, her vision tunneling to pinpricks, colors desaturating to gray. Hallucinations flickered her grandfather's face, warning her about the park's hidden dangers. Jake's smile from earlier that evening, now a mocking ghost. The pain transcended physically, becoming an existential scream in her soul. "Jake! God! Help!" Her voice cracked, reduced to gurgles as blood from internal hemorrhaging flooded her throat. The bear paused, its tongue rough as sandpaper, pink and lolling, darting out to lap at the exposed wound. It tasted her, savoring the salty warmth, before burying its muzzle deeper. Teeth nipped at her liver, the organ yielding like jelly, dark blood squirting in rhythmic pulses from severed vessels. Chunks were torn free, chewed with wet smacks that echoed grotesquely. Emily convulsed, her body arching in involuntary spasms as nerves fired their last signals. The consumption was methodical, primal efficiency. Black bears could devour up to 20 pounds in a sitting, their digestive systems adapted to opportunistic feasts. In the Smokies, the predatory attacks often involved partial eating, leaving remains as grim markers. From the woods, Jake burst forth, his face a mask of horror illuminated by the moon. He'd heard the initial scream, mid-urination, the sound cutting through like a blade. "Emily, no!" He wielded the fishing pole like a spear, swinging it in a wide arc. The rod whistled through the air, connecting with the bear's haunch in a resounding thud that sent vibrations up his arms. Splinters flew as the carbon fiber cracked, but the bear's thick hide, layered with fat for the winter insulation, absorbed the impact with barely a flinch. It lifted its blood-smeared head, ears flattening, a low rumble building in its chest. Emily whimpered beneath it, her abdomen a hollowed ruin, organs trailing like macabre streamers. Blood loss turned her skin pallid, lips blue-tinged like hypoxia. "Run, Jake!" But he couldn't abandon her. Rage overrode fear. He swung again, the broken pole jabbing at the bear's side. It pierced the first slightly, drawing a bead of dark blood, but the beast roared, a deafening bellow that rustled leaves overhead and swatted the weapon away. Claws raked Jake's forearm in retaliation, slicing through sleeve and skin in deep furrows that exposed flexor tendons, snapping like cut strings. His hand went limp, fingers curling involuntarily as nerves died, blood jetting from a nicked brachial artery. Undeterred, Jake hurled himself forward, grabbing a river rock, slick with algae. He bashed it against the bear's skull, the impact jarring his wrist, but eliciting only a shake of the head. The bear reared up, towering over him at nearly 8 feet, paws flailing, one connected with Jake's chest, claws embedding in pectoral muscle and scraping sternum. Fabric tore, flesh parted, and he felt the grate of bone as ribs fractured inward, puncturing a lung. Air hissed from the wound, bubbling with blood and frothy pink foam. He collapsed to his knees, gasping, the world spinning in vertigo. The bear descended, jaws engulfing his thigh. Teeth sank into quadriceps, muscle fibers ripping with audible pops. The hamstring severed clean. Jake howled, a primal cry that matched Emily's earlier wail, as the bear shook him like a terrier with a rat. Skin sloughed off in strips, exposing femur in glistening white. Marrow leaking from micro-fractures. Blood poured in sheets, turning the grass into a slick mire. He punched the snout desperately, knuckles splitting on fangs. But the bear hit down harder, crunching bone with 1,200 psi of force, enough to pulverize a human skull. Alternating its assault, the bear returned to Emily, dragging her by the leg. Her femur grated against teeth, splintering further as it pulled her into the underbrush. She was barely alive, consciousness flickering like a dying ember. Her body a canvas of mutilation, shoulder mangled, abdomen eviscerated, blood loss nearing exsanguination. The bear fed ravenously, tearing into her thigh, stripping vastus lateralis in bloody mouthfuls. Chewing with slurping crunches, Emily's final breath escaped in a rattle, eyes glazing as her heart stuttered to a halt. Jake, witnessing the horror through a haze of pain, crawled forward. His intestines threatened to spill from a fresh gash across his belly, claws having unzipped him like a gutted fish. Loops of bowel protruded, coated in dirt and bile, sending waves of nausea. With his last strength, he stabbed the pull shard into the bear's eye, the orb bursting in a spray of vitreous humor. The beast recoiled, pawing at its face, bellowing in agony. But blindness and one eye only amplified its frenzy. It pounced back, claws disemboweling Jake fully, intestines cascading out in a foul torrent, spleen ruptured, kidneys lacerated. The final mauling was merciless. The bear's jaws closed on Jake's neck, vertebrae crunching like gravel underfoot. His vision faded to black as the bear crushed his skull, cranium fracturing in a mosaic of cracks, brain tissue extruding in gray-pink ooze mixed with cerebrospinal fluid. The river's murmur reclaimed the silence, the bear dragging both corpses deeper into the forest for undisturbed consumption. Partial remains, limbs gnawed to bone, torsos hollowed, would be discovered days later. A stark reminder of the Smokies' untamed peril.